Thursday, August 15th, 2019. An early 2-game slate, an 8-game slate on the main. And Jake, I must say, there was a guy, one of our subscribers in Slack was saying, I love Jake and Alex and Josh and Adam and the football guy who always says, this is a terrible slate for pitching is great. And then tagged me. So I guess recently there's been a lot of that. And I mentioned it a couple days ago, but I feel like, and it does look, by the way, this doesn't mean a slate is bad. It means you might have to dig a little bit further. It also gives you some great lower owned spots to target, but pitching, despite the size of these slates all week long, it's been really shallow.
Oh yeah, today's no different. I mean, even if you look at the early slate, there's really one good option, and that's Bueller. And then the main slate, like you're not getting a lot of name value, and you're also not getting very many good matchups either. So I agree, it's been like that for the better part of a week. And I think on slates like this, more often or more so than ever, I just rely on the tools we have, like the tools that I use, the projections, and see how Alex is projecting these guys. And is there a big difference in their point projections? And is there a big difference in the ownerships if these guys are somewhat interchangeable? And just try to get an edge on the field that way, because it's tough for everyone. So it might not be appealing to some people, but I think these slates are even more appealing. It feels like I do better on these slates.
Yeah, no question. And it definitely can make things easier. But you definitely have to have the tools at your disposal, like you mentioned. Anyway, the MLB Strategy Show is sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Let me just give you an idea of what they're running out for NFL, because I'm actually very excited about this. Had good results with their NFL last year, especially in these no management fee contests. All right, check this out, Jake. For week 1, $1 million baller, $1 million guaranteed, 100K to first, 50K to second, and they got flat payouts on this, which is nice. 0% management fee, nothing off the top. They take nothing on this contest. 10 entry max, not 150, 10. Everyone can only put 10 in. $25 to enter. 25% of the field is paid out, at least double their money, right? At least double their entry fee. And you got 100K guaranteed, 20K to first, 10 entry max, only $10 to enter with a very solid 12% management fee. And then the NFL Yahoo Cup, listen closely. It's free to enter. 5K in weekly prizes, 1K to first. 150,000 in total prizes over the course of the season. 10K to first overall. There's a free contest, flat payouts as well. So 10K to first for top cumulative scores. Lowest two scores dropped from your total. And you get, this is like, never happens, but it's worth trying because it's free. $1 million if you play a perfect optimal lineup. That is a great week 1 over at Yahoo, man.
Yeah, and I pulled the contest up on the screen, so if you guys are watching live, you can see just a bunch of great options. And then, of course, you've got the king of all tournaments, the no management fee, $1 million prize pool, $25 entry. You can't 150 max it. And so it's only a $250 commitment here. And you've got a chance at 100K, and you won't be behind the field if you do 10 max this like you would be in a 150 max. So lots of appeal on these Yahoo tournaments. You got the free roll, of course, and then a bunch of smaller stuff too. Like they've got the quarter with $500 to first. Who knows? There may even be some overlay on these tournaments. So already low management fees, and then you throw in possible overlay on some of these, and it really doesn't get much better than this.
No, it doesn't. I'm gonna drop our Spotlight Hitters article into the YouTube chat. And here's why I'm going to do it. Because at the top of the article, it's totally free. At the top of the article, if you sign up using that link, you get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points, which is, as good as cash to play on the site. You can't go purchase a Slurpee at 7-Eleven, but you can enter contests on Yahoo. And you get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points upon depositing. No better time to do it than now. I'll drop it in here. It's totally free article. I'll throw it in the chat and get signed up. Use the sign up code AWESEMO if they ask. All right. Well, that'll do it. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. check it out. A ton of great stuff coming up for NFL. And of course, PGA and NFL contests still running. So there you have it. Actually, it won't let me post that, of course. So go ahead and just check it out on the homepage, Spotlight Hitters article right on the homepage. And it's at the top of the Spotlight Hitters article. All right, Jake, let's get started. We've got 10 games, but we'll first do a little bit of lineup study. What do we have here on this Thursday?
Yeah, so I'm posting the Spotlight Hitters article in chat if anybody wants to see that in the YouTube chat. Otherwise, you can just scroll through in the MLB articles and find that. Sometimes it gets knocked off the homepage as more stuff comes in. We've got a familiar name tying for a win this time. He was nice enough to let this guy split the top prize. I don't recognize this name. I'm sure he's probably a pretty decent player, max entering a 555 tournament. So
who is it?
Dars Minoluk. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's
nope.
Yeah, so not a name that I recognize, but he almost made $47,000 profit in this tournament. So pretty good night for him. Alex tied for first. He did his normal thing that we always talk about. It seems like every time we're on, he's cashing 10% of his lineups, but one of them is right near the top. So he only had 2 lineups cashing. One of them won it. The other one, I think, got 52nd in this 555.
Cash is the ones that matter, right?
Yep, exactly. So just so good at diversifying per usual. Looking at his exposures in this tournament, and then we'll quick look at the winning lineup. 50% of Max Muncy, a bunch of Mets, and then kind of Dodgers were his second team after that. Bunch of Kershaw. He was actually below the field on Kershaw, so he must have assumed that Kershaw was going to be mega chalk. He was 46% here.
How much NOLA did he have?
Let me do a quick Control V or Control F. 8%. So that's one lineup out of 12. Yeah. So actually, looking at the lineup, I don't remember. I think he had Dakota Hudson. Yeah, so he had a 5-3 Dodgers-Phillies, so obviously the 3-man Phillies carried him here. Dodgers didn't do too bad either, but Hudson-Keuchel pairing, both got over 20 DK points. Look at all his hitters. Basically,
just real quick, just to point out, the Dodgers may not have scored double-digit runs, but almost every run they had was a homer. So that doesn't help. They had four home runs against Alicia Hernandez, Turner, Rios had 2, Corey Seager. When you're producing runs by way of the long ball, you don't always need 15 runs to win.
Yeah, solo shots work pretty well, I hear. So he had a couple home runs from Justin Turner, or he had a home run from Turner, a home run from Seager. Bellinger and Muncy both had solid performances. You don't need a massive score in the 555 where there's only 400 total entries compared to a tournament like the $15 where there's 25K entries sometimes, or the mini max where there's 70,000 on some nights, where you literally have to hit the absolute nuts. So he ran a lot of 5-3s in this tournament. Alex did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Half his lineups were 5-3s, actually 7, because this is a 5-4, but that includes one of the pitchers. So 5-3 was kind of his preferred build in the higher stakes tournament last night, and it seemed to work out for him despite playing a ton of Mets, who I don't think performed very well. So he cashed the one that mattered per usual. And then looking at some of these other tournaments just real quick, I know Ricky D took down another 20K. He's been on fire lately. He took down the 20K and the $66 on last night's main slate. He's just been really awesome. You see some familiar names: Shanzan, Utikau up at the top, Anil, Slewfoot. So it looked like it was a pretty good night for some of the top pros here in the MME tournaments.
All right, good stuff. It felt like I wrote the deep dive yesterday. You can find it at awesemo.com. And it felt like all of the pitchers I wrote up, many of them, not all of them, but many of them were sketchy, like the non-Kershaw and Nola ones. Many of them, as I'm writing them up, I'm like, I have to, because it's not a good pitching slate. But many of them, like for example, Steven Matz, 6 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. Keuchel, 6 scoreless innings, 7 strikeouts. And I'm not saying that because they were in the article. What I'm saying is it was one of these slates where all of these guys could have got crushed, but all of them ended up being decent. Even Peters, 6 innings, 2 runs, 6 Ks. Archer had 10 strikeouts. I wasn't very high on him. And Dakota Hudson went scoreless across 6 with 4 Ks. Oh, Brad Keller had a no-hitter or a perfect game going into the into the 7th inning, and then they scored 5 runs. So really strange slate. Let's just dive right into it then. Now that we've got that out of the way, we'll touch quickly on this 2-game early set. When we do these early slates, we don't need to go game by game. It's easier to look at it as a whole. And Walker Buehler is, of course, just going to be chalkier than chalk. And to be fair, Jake, he should be. He's going up against the Marlins. He's 10-7 on DraftKings, and it's as good a matchup as you could possibly get.
Yeah. So I think there's no reason to get away from Buehler. Like if you wanted to just stack all the expensive bats in a lineup and you just couldn't end up on him, that'd be one thing. Like if you wanted to do a full Dodger stack with Muncy and Turner and Bellinger and basically everyone expensive in the lineup, maybe you don't get to Buehler, but there's really no reason not to. You're looking at raw points on this 2-gamer here. I've actually liked playing 2-gamers and like these 2 and 3 gamers just because I think people make mistakes and try to get too cute. Like you still need the raw points, especially at pitching. So I wouldn't be getting away from Buehler at all. SP2 would just be kind of a revolving door for me. I'd just be mixing in basically all of these guys. I think Turnbull's probably my second favorite guy because Caleb Smith's matchup is so tough here with the Dodgers. Do we have ownership on this one yet? I think it would be.
Yeah, I was checking.
Oh, we just got
now.
it just now. Perfect timing.
Beautiful. Look at that.
And actually, ownership projections. I think for the main slate, ownership projections are free today, so you guys can follow along for those. I don't know if we make the early slate free as well, but I'll just refer to the early slate ownership projections right now on DraftKings. Wow, have you seen it yet?
No.
So 2 pitchers tied at the top.
Buehler and Turnbull?
No, Buehler and Smith, both at 2/3 of the lineups, 67% on DraftKings.
Really? So does that mean that my guess would that would mean that Detroit and Seattle are, well, Seattle's actually kind of expensive. Detroit's got to be really chalky then.
Yes. So after Buehler and Smith on DraftKings, 14 out of the next 15 players in our ownership projections are from the Seattle-Detroit game. So there's Lewis Brinson, just for salary relief, I'm guessing, at 38%. And then it's Lugo, Tim Lopes, Dixon, Cabrera, Crawford, Narvaez, like all these guys. So it appears Buehler-Smith is going to be the most popular combo, which I would not have guessed.
I thought it was going to be Buehler-Turnbull, honestly, so people could get some semblance of decent hitting in there, but
yeah,
not the case. That is definitely surprising. I mean, I know the Dodgers aren't quite as good against lefties, and it's a good park, and Caleb Smith has been significantly better at home this year, but it still seems, well, you know what, Jake, now that I think about it, Caleb Smith's price is really low given his skill set, but it's also a very difficult matchup. So first of all, I didn't think he'd be coming in that high. They're both around what? Did you say 66%?
67 apiece.
Wow. Okay. What's Turnbull at?
Turnbull is 66.
You're joking.
I'm not joking.
And Malone's at like 30?
So I think we have to get Tommy Malone in here.
Is he not on it yet?
He's not. So
okay,
Whistler is the opener. So we've got Whistler at we don't have Whistler in. So right now we only have 3 pitchers in. That's probably why, because we've got the opener situation. So once we run this again, I would imagine we're going to get some decent ownership to Malone. I would say he's around 30. Maybe Turnbull and Smith come down a tad. Whistler's not going to get any ownership. I believe it's like a true opener. I think he's only going 1 inning. He hasn't gone more than 2 in any game log I can see going back the last month or so. I'm gonna look at Malone's price here. I thought it was like 6,700, but I could just be completely misremembering that. So I'll check a DraftKings contest really quick and see if we can talk about Malone for a second. He is 78. Wow. That Detroit matchup has been really priced up. DraftKings has done a good job, as Detroit is just awful. But for a lefty here, it's not that favorable of a spot. And Malone is pretty expensive at 78. So I guess I understand why Smith's getting a ton of ownership. I still think I would rather go with Buehler and Turnbull in the majority of my lineups.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Is there really any way to be different and feel good about it?
I mean, yeah, play Dodgers bats, right? If you're going to get so much leverage off of Smith, even if he drops down to like 45-50%, that's huge. If you can
I meant on pitching, but you're right.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm saying, is there okay, you know what? Dude, Tom is the greatest. He already updated for Malone on DraftKings.
All right, let's see here. We've got only 20% Malone. And then Buehler went up a bit. Smith pretty much stuck where he was at, and then Turnbull down to 41.
Yeah. Well, now let's have this discussion again. I think Buehler, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
This was my question, and I was actually messing around with it last night when I was watching Yellowstone, which if you don't watch Yellowstone, you're doing it all wrong. This is a phenomenal TV show. You will thank me later. You don't even have to. Just enjoy it. But remember, I said so. Let's go ahead and try something. Let's throw Buehler and, say, Turnbull in.
Okay.
You got about 4,000 remaining per player, a little bit less. Is that enough? Is that enough for us to get like a Dodger stack in?
Let's see. So I think Pollock, if he's leading off, is a really awesome value. I think if Tyler White is in this lineup, that's going to swing things. He is in our projected lineup. At other spots, he's not in the projected lineup. If he's $2,800, even if he's batting 8th, I think he's going to be one of the more popular players in the slate, just because he's got the platoon split and he's got like decent pass numbers. So he's going to project as a really good value. So if we put him in there and then like Negron, now we've still got 4,200 remaining with those 3 guys. Probably want to get one of Turner, Muncy, and Bellinger in there, or at least one of those guys. So if we just take Muncy as the cheapest guy, we've now got 3,975 remaining. We could still fit in Bellinger or Turner there. So I put in Bellinger, and now we've got a 5-man Dodgers with 3,466 remaining per player. And you could do that with Detroit players, I think. It's not too difficult, especially if you take one hitter against your pitcher to fill out your last spot. I don't think that's too difficult. Oh, Tyler White's on the DL. Did I miss that?
So
He's right
Tyler
here.
White's been on it, right? Just
Okay.
a couple days ago, I think like Tuesday.
Okay, so So this was their last lineup versus a lefty. I'm guessing that's why he's been in.
Right.
And then he wins the DL. Okay, that makes sense. So he's not going to be in the lineup. Now that makes it quite a bit more difficult to fit in a 5-man Dodgers.
It definitely does. And honestly, at this point, like, how do you not play Will Smith?
Yeah, I mean, in Miami, like, that narrative is about as good as it gets.
Stop it. Alex was saying the same thing yesterday. But in all
double
seriousness, this guy's been fantastic. And I know he's expensive and I know he's a catcher, but the guy's not hitting like a catcher. Like he's been great, and now he's got the platoon advantage against the lefty that has been prone to homers against righties. I I like him, man. It's tough though. I think it will be tough to make it work, especially being that um, Kike Hernandez is still on the injured list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't heard from him in forever.
Yeah, he has a minor league assignment this weekend, but
Okay. Yeah, so Will Smith is actually the third lowest or the third highest owned Smith on the slate, behind Caleb and Malik's, but he's at just 17%. Like, if you can
that's
figure
not
out,
very high.
yeah, if you can figure out a way to do that on a 2 game slate, a catcher batting third, you're automatically going to have a differentiated lineup, because you're going up against Smith and because you're spending up so much for your catcher spot, whereas all the other catchers are, well, actually Narvaez is pretty expensive, but the other guys really aren't. Like Alfaro at 3,300 is probably going to be a guy a lot of people go to, even though it's not a good spot.
You know what though? Now that I think of it, Will Smith won't be in the lineup because he was in the last night's lineup.
Was he? No, he was 2 nights
Oh
ago.
no, he had the 2 home run game 2 days ago, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay. So then he should be. He should be. Okay, yeah, he was out Wednesday, he was in Tuesday. That makes sense. All right. So, cool. Okay, so we'll move on to the main slate here, but let me just ask you, what do you think your favorite roster construction is? Is it Dodger bats, fill it in with some cheap Detroit hitters?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be really difficult to avoid Detroit here, looking at these ownership projections, just because they're so cheap. And if we want to
very tough.
if we want to get Bueller, like, they're basically the only way you can do it, unless you want to stack 7, 8, 9 for Seattle or something like that.
I'm curious if they're going to optimize their lineup for a lefty.
They should, right? Or I guess they shouldn't, right? Because they're tanking. They're just full on tanking.
Right.
They'll just throw out a bunch of lefties and.
Yeah, and they already have so many righties. Maybe it won't make a difference, but
Right.
yeah, I don't know. All right, let's go to the main slate. We've got 8 games, and Yu Darvish is your most expensive pitcher on DraftKings. Mike Fiers is your second priciest pitcher. That should give you an idea of what we're working with today. So let's just kick it off with the first game on the docket: New York Yankees, Cleveland Indians. Adam Plutko, and I guess so. We have Chad Green as an opener. Is it going to be? I don't know. Like Cortez pitched on the 12th. Who do you think this will be?
That's a great question. It's always difficult with the Yankees because even when we thought it was Cortez, like, he didn't come in until like the 8th inning. So
I know.
I really
Luis Sessa pitched yesterday.
So maybe it's just a pure bullpen game and no one's going over a couple innings again.
It feels like it, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't really want to make an assumption on who's going for the Yankees. Let's see if Fantasy Cruncher has anyone in their pool. They're usually on the relievers. So I'll just sort by the Yankees here. They only have Green right now in the pool, so it looks like they haven't gotten word that there's a projected long reliever yet. I don't know. Does DraftKings have any probable long reliever in there?
No, nothing.
Yikes. So I guess we really don't know. Hopefully it's someone that's 4K that might come in for a few innings like Cortez. I know he wasn't super stretched out. I think he only threw like 28 or 30 pitches in his last appearance. So I guess he could go on short rest if he needed to. But yeah, probably not going to get to too much pitching in this game anyways.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It's really not a pretty one. Do we once again look to the Yankees as a top offense?
Yeah, man. I mean, no reason not to. Like, this is like 3 weeks straight. I've been just hammering the Yankees, and it's worked out pretty well. So another 6 implied total. That's just nothing new for them. Against Plutko, a guy who really cannot miss bats very well at all. On the season, he's got the lowest K rate of any pitcher on the slate, under 15%, 2.34 home runs per 9. He doesn't really walk a lot of guys, too, so you're just assuming there's going to be a ton of balls in play in Yankee Stadium. The one thing is just that there's a little bit of wind blowing in from right. I don't think that's something that the Yankees can't overcome, though. So, yeah, they've got to be considered a top 2 or 3 stack, at least, on tonight's slate.
Yeah, I think so as well. Implied total 6. As far as all of the games on this slate, only one team has a higher total right now. That's the Minnesota Twins in Arlington. So, yeah, there you have it. Um, if we talk about this Philly and Cubs spot, by the way, anyone who missed it the other day, Charlie Manuel has taken over as their hitting coach. Uh, yes, the same Charlie Manuel that was their manager back
Yeah.
when they won the World Series. And look, it sounds like a horrible move. I'm not gonna lie.
How old is he these days?
Oh, I don't know, 106. I, I don't know. I'll tell you right now. He
He's got to be
is
like 80.
75.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, he's beloved in the city of Philadelphia. Beloved. No question. But I don't know. I'm sure people like yesterday saw, 11 runs in his first game. Man, they nailed it. Who knows? But the pitching matchup that we have here, it should have been Gabe that got the can. Pitching matchup is you, Darvish, and Drew Smiley. Uh, I get it. Smiley has been getting ownership recently because the price is low and we've had some bad pitching slates. This guy is not good. And the Cubs are very capable of getting super heavy from the right side. He's at 35% right now. 35% right now on DraftKings, 27% at $28 on Yahoo. Once again, Drew Smiley getting a lot of ownership.
Yeah. I don't think I
He's even
necessarily.
12%. Sorry, he's even 12% on FanDuel.
Right. Like, he's fine. He's a fine pitcher. But if people are just going to gravitate towards a $6,600 Smiley against the Cubs, who have a 5+ implied total here, and their lineup looks so much better now versus lefties when you throw in Castellanos, Almora leading off. Um,
Yeah.
this is a really tough matchup for a lefty. You got Lucroy in there who just doesn't strike out. He's not a great hitter, but all these guys can hit lefties. Even Rizzo, of course, the lefty spot. So I'm quite a bit lower than the field right now on Smiley. I right now don't understand the ownership, so I'm glad there's some ownership I don't agree with right off the bat here. So give me some Cubs bats instead.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. As a matter of fact, I like this Cubs team a lot. One thing worth looking at because they have been pretty inexpensive as pricing. Salaries did come up on these guys. Like Castellanos is finally priced right. Uh, it's not that you can't get the full stack in. You can, and probably pretty easily. But it was a whole lot nicer when Castellanos was like 3,800.
Yeah. So pricing Castellanos up, rightfully so, but that's also going to decrease the overall ownership on the Cubs because really the only super obvious value here, at least on DraftKings, is $3,400 Almora if he leads off.
Yeah, and I like that quite a bit. How much is David Bote?
He is 3,800 on DK. Let's see what he is over
And
on
you might see
Yahoo.
him bat. You might see him bat 6 or something.
Yeah, $13 on Yahoo, so not as good of a value over there, but
Yeah,
especially
not
bats
crazy
in
either.
order. Yeah.
Temperature 80 degrees, humid again. Yeah, it's not a bad spot. What are your thoughts on Darvish and Philadelphia bats?
I think I'm going to get to a bunch of Darvish here. I know the Phillies, your Phillies, did well last night for Charlie Manuel. I'm sure people won't overreact to that, but just a guy who has a really solid K rate, almost 29% for the season. I know he's pricey, but I think you can find some pretty cheap bats. And looking at Yahoo here, Darvish, $43. The Yankees are more. A lot of the Yankees are in like this mid-tier price. Besides Tauchman and Urshela at $26 and $27 on Yahoo. Everyone else is 19 or below. So looking at the teams I want to stack, I think Darvish fits really, really nicely on Yahoo. 9.7 on DK is obviously much tougher to get to, but he's still getting 26% ownership. I think Darvish is going to be a top 3 option for me tonight on all sites. And yeah, I mean, I'm not all that worried for a high strikeout pitcher going up against Philly here because he's just one of the most talented pitchers on the slate.
You're not worried about Charlie Manuel?
No, no, not too worried about 75-year-old Chuck.
You know, at least the one really positive aspect of Darvish's game. First of all, he's been able to limit his walks a lot better lately, but he is leading this entire slate with a 28.6% strikeout rate. That's got to be good for something, Jake.
Yeah, really good. So just, uh, strikeout per price, like per $100 on DraftKings, he's going to be one of your better options. Even though he's priced up, like, I don't know, there's not a ton of pitching I want to pay up for outside of maybe one other guy. So Darvish, I think I agree with the ownership here, and I'm hoping to get over it here.
All right. Any interest in Philly bats at all, or mostly just heavy Darvish?
Bryce is a really good value at 4,300, and Real Muto at 42, I suppose. But it's mostly just Bryce. 2 home runs last night. Maybe he's starting to turn it around. Maybe he just needed some Charlie Manuel in his life.
He just needed some chalk. That's right.
He's 19 on Yahoo as well. So if he's leading off, hard to avoid that value in like a cash game format.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And look, Darvish is definitely a good pitcher, but it's not a favorable park shift here. It's a tough spot. He's allowed 26 home runs. Like, power has been something that he's struggled with, even when he has decent starts. For example, he's allowed multiple home runs in 4 of his last 8 starts. So he will give up some power, and I think it's at least you can at least justify looking at Harper at that price. If Dickerson's in the lineup, he's not expensive. Jay Bruce is back on the IL, but there are a few spots in this lineup that you could make an argument for. Just as a full stack, I agree. It's not that enticing.
For sure.
Cincinnati and St. Louis. Sonny Gray, Michael Wacha. Sonny Gray right now, pretty popular, 35% on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I don't think he's as popular. 15%, actually. That's the second highest owned pitcher behind Andrew Heaney. And as Jake pointed out earlier, if you want to follow along, the ownership projections today are completely free. So check it out on awesomeo.com. Under the MLB tab, you'll see ownership. Go to main slate. And then Sonny Gray, 41% on Yahoo behind, again, only Andrew Heaney. So here you have it, man. It's Sonny Gray's been very good this year. His upside has been far greater against lefties because of that 30% K rate. But this is a St. Louis team that on one hand has been really bad against righties, but on the other hand is finally starting to get healthy. So where 2 weeks ago we would have been talking about, no Marcelo Zuna, no Matt Carpenter, no Yadi Molina. Now the only guys that aren't in the lineup are Jose Martinez.
Yeah, I think he's the one missing piece in their lineup,
and he has not been very good.
No, not at all. He's been
Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah, O'Neill would be great to have in this lineup if you're looking to play some Sonny Gray. But I think Sonny is my favorite option on this entire slate. So got to point out the Yahoo price, $45 for Gray over there. That's phenomenal. He's cheaper than Darvish on DraftKings right now, and he's getting, let's see, just a little bit more ownership, 9% more. I've got the ownership projections up on the screen for the main slate. So Gray striking out 27% of hitters, almost 28% on the season, giving up very little power, under a home run per 9. He's just been really good, and Adam's been right on him the whole time. Not right enough to where he's going to get up to 10K on DK just yet, but the matchup is, I think, still decent for the Cardinals. They're still striking out about average on their active roster, 22.2%. Still just a 89 WRC plus on the season. So really rough pitching slate, and Gray's kind of the one bright spot I see here.
I don't disagree. And I would say the more lefties, the more appealing it becomes. But nevertheless, it's a pretty favorable spot. What are your thoughts on the other side here? Michael Wacha against Cincinnati, Great American Ballpark. We know it's hitter friendly. 83 degrees. It's still, look, this is always going to be friendlier towards hitters, but Hell, Sonny Gray this season has done a phenomenal job at Great American Ballpark. Not quite as good as on the road, but he's allowed only 7 home runs, striking out well above a batter per inning, which is what you want to see. Everything's favorable. Michael Wacha, on the other hand, there was a time where people actually liked this guy. Now he is the furthest thing from a reliable option at the back of this or really middle of this rotation.
Yeah, Waka. The only thing good about him here, for DFS at least, is that he's 5,400. But I think the Reds providing a ton of value here. Van Meter at 4K, if he's batting cleanup, that's a really nice option. You've got Winker leading off for his normal $4,100 price tag. Votto's cheap. I know he doesn't have a ton of power, at least this season, but you've got some power bats in Aquino and Suarez in there. The only thing I'm worried about with the Reds, which is always the thing I'm worried about with them, is that they come in super over-owned compared to their chance of being the top stack. But you see why that could be the case here with a good implied total against a pitcher with the 17-18% K rate on the season, wind blowing out at an already favorable spot with 85-degree temperatures.
It feels like they're always over-owned because of how inexpensive they are. And they also seem to underwhelm like 98% of the time.
Right. I mean, if you play them every day, you're going to be disappointed, 80% of the time over the MLB season.
Right. Don't quote us on those numbers, but it sure feels close. Do you want to touch on anything else from this game, or is it mostly Sonny Gray being your top dog?
I think it's just Sonny. He's the guy I'm most interested in, and then obvious value in the Reds.
All right, so we move it along here. Atlanta, New York Mets, Julio Teheran, Marcus Stroman. I take nothing away from how well Stroman pitched. I mean, if you want a guy that can get ground balls, that can limit runs and keep runners off the base paths, he is a pretty good option for that. If you want a quality fantasy option at a discounted cost, you're not getting either of those. And as decent as Stroman is, this does not feel like the most quality matchup by any stretch. And then Julio Teheran on the other side, he's actually been pretty good lately. He's also had some cupcake matchups. This one isn't super difficult, but it's not as friendly as you'd think. Pitching in this game, to me, I don't anticipate myself having a whole lot of either Julio Teheran or a whole lot of Marcus Stroman, who are both, Stroman's getting no ownership. Julio Teheran's actually close to 20% on DraftKings.
Yeah, that seems wild.
Right?
I guess you're getting a righty-heavy lineup for the Mets, possibly, but he still hasn't been good against righties this season. That's kind of always been his saving grace, is being much better versus
with that
righties.
Slider.
Right, and this year it just hasn't been working for him. So getting 20% ownership, I guess just maybe because he's a name. He's a guy we've known for a long time. But
16 to be exact, but it still seems high.
Yeah, that still does seem high to me. I'd rather just punt than go to either one of these guys. I like Stroman as a pitcher. I hate the price at 8,400 against the Braves. Mm-hmm. So he's really tough for me to get to. Freddie Freeman is the one bat that sticks out against Stroman. Stroman's not a guy I stack against all too often. But I would like to stack against Teheran, especially if he sticks in this mid-teens ownership throughout the day. Like, you've got power and speed at the top of this lineup with Rosario, who's only 3,800 against Teheran, who just has not missed bats like we've seen in the past.
Yeah. It's really I don't see how I get there with any like real frequency. SunTrust Park is definitely more favorable to lefties. As a matter of fact, it's a bottom 5 last I looked, righty power park. Might have been bottom 8, but definitely not good. I could see myself getting to some of these left-handed bats for the Mets, but McNeil is on the IL. So there's one that isn't going to be in the lineup. I do think Conforto's pretty interesting. I was curious to see what his ownership would look like. Yeah, I mean, single-digit ownership on Conforto really isn't that bad. I think you could get to guys like him. And as Julio Teheran, I won't take anything away from him. He's been good. He has not been bad, and he's done a much better job of limiting power too. But it just you're paying 8,600. You're hoping to get 20 fantasy points in this specific matchup. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
Yeah, man, I'd take 20 from any pitcher on this slate, but Teheran does not seem like a super likely option to do that. So,
Well, especially when he's basically the same price as Sonny Gray.
right, that for me is such an easy just get all my exposure in that area to Gray. I don't see the appeal to Teheran if he's going to be even close to where Gray's at.
Any other thoughts on hitters here, either side?
No, I think we're good to move on.
All right, let's do it. Next one on the list, Texas, Minnesota. I mentioned earlier, Minnesota Twins with the highest implied run total on the slate. Currently sitting all the way up at 6.6 in Arlington against Pedro Payano, looking like this could be a pretty rough outing for him. He's made 5 appearances, 3 starts this season. This isn't to say that he's done a terrible job, but I don't know if there's a ton of redeeming qualities in this specific spot going up against a Twins team that has absolutely annihilated righties. I think you could argue they've come back down to earth a little bit, which is what we should all have expected. But and by the way, Piano at AAA, 11K. Well, let's see, his K rate at AAA this year 27%. At AA, he pitched 42 innings. It was 28%. So the guy can get strikeouts, but one of the big things is he was walking like 13% of batters at AAA, and that's going to hurt your pitch count. That's going to make life difficult in order to stay actually out on the mound. So I would say this. I think his K rate will increase here. It's only 16.9%. I think you will see an uptick in strikeouts, but I also would expect to see some regression as far as run prevention goes. I think you're going to start seeing this guy walk a lot of batters and then give up power, which just never ends well. Again, I don't think he's a particularly bad pitcher, but this is not a spot where you want to bet on Pedro Payano.
No, I don't think so. He's actually done a good job of preventing runs in his few starts so far, but we're still working with really small samples. I agree that the K rate's probably going to come up.
And look at some of the teams he faced, by the way. Detroit, Oakland, Seattle. I know he pitched an inning against Minnesota, but the 3 games where he actually went pretty deep were all below average matchups or below average teams against right-handed pitching.
Yeah, and 4, 3, and 3 walks in his last 3 appearances. I mean, that's going to kill you in weather like this against a team that's just been unreal versus lefties the whole season, striking out just over 20% of the time with this active roster.
He's a righty.
Yeah. Against righties. I mean, the Twins against righties. Did I say? Yeah, okay.
Lefty. You said lefty.
Oh,
I wasn't
my
sure.
bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Twins have been one of the best teams, top 5 WRC plus. And you see why going down the lineup with Rosario, Polanco, Kepler at the top. And then they're not even that expensive on DraftKings. So they're not only going to have a good chance of being the top stack, probably the best chance of being the top stack when the top stack tool comes out, but they're probably going to have a decent chance of being the best value, which you don't often see because you got Arias at 4,100. Adrian's is cheap, but probably going to be in the 9-hole. Cron at 4,100. This total's been jumping around quite a bit, but it's 96 degrees in Texas, expected to be at game time, and Payano's not getting the strikeouts, and this Twins team's just been incredible.
96 degrees in Arlington?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely going to work in their favor, you would think. I'm with you here. In terms of ownership, though, I am curious to see where these guys are going to land, because it seems like there are plenty of other viable stacks here to where you could easily get, and also Nelson Cruz is on the IL. So, whoever replaces him, I'm not sure who it'll be today, but whoever replaces him will likely give you a little bit more salary relief, not nearly as good a hitter. And he's just been insane over the past month or so, like absolutely nutty production from Nelson Cruz. But, they can throw a guy in there who can also hit 2 home runs in a game versus righties. So there's really nothing not to like here. I'm with you 100%. Let's flip to the other side of this then. Devin Smeltzer. Do you think this is for a lefty a bad spot, a decent spot where you're still not playing him because it's in terrible conditions, or a decent spot where you're actually considering him? Because, by the way, if he was like 5K, I think I could make an argument for it. But at this price, there's no way I could get there.
Do you have Smeltzer, did you say? I'm seeing Pineda.
Oh, you're seeing Pineda now? Let's see. Oh, no, you know what? So, yeah, it must have come out this morning. Smeltzer won't draw the start for Thursday's game against the Rangers. Instead, with the Twins instead planning to activate Michael Pineda. Okay, there you go. So, yeah, I guess I just missed that.
No, you're good. I mean, either way, it'd be tough to get to Smeltzer. It's going to be really hard to get to Pineda here in this weather, in this park. Like, he's 9,300 too. You're just getting absolutely no discount. I'd rather play Sonny. I'd rather play Darvish ahead of him, and he's right in there. Like, he's right smack dab in between those guys on DraftKings. So with Texas,
and they've already to some extent limited Pineda's inning or pitch workload this year. So I know he's only on the 10-day IL, but would you really be surprised if he only threw 80 pitches? Because I wouldn't.
No, not at all. So that's just a no-go for 9,300.
Do you like Rangers?
Yeah. Danny Santana and Chu right off the top, 4,900 for Santana. Really love him. First base, outfield eligible on DraftKings. I think he's expensive on Yahoo, if I remember correctly. Yeah, $22 on Yahoo. You got Chu, though, leading off for $12. Andrews in the 3-hole at 10. And then all these Rangers are pretty favorably priced on Yahoo. So really, really love them over there. On DraftKings, I'm for sure going to get to them as well. Pineda allowing over 2 home runs per 9. I mean, just has not gotten over the home run struggles here.
No, but in his defense, recently he's done a better job of that. I think, over his last 10 starts, he's allowed 4 total home runs with no multi-home run games. He has been better, and he's been better at limiting walks. Like, Pineda's recent performance has been way better than the season, but it's also going to be flirting with 100 degrees in one of the best ballparks for August baseball. I don't disagree with you here. And you know what? Texas, as bad as they are against lefties, they can stack the lineup full of plenty of power against righties. Really, the only negative, and it's surely disappointing, is that we still don't have Joey Gallo back.
Right. Like, this would be such a good spot.
Oh, my God. Dude, I would be loaded with Joey. Yeah. It'd be a phenomenal spot.
He'd probably be priced at like 5,700 too, and people just wouldn't play him,
Absolutely, yeah. He's already at 49, and he hasn't played in 3 weeks. I think we're good on this game, right?
Yeah.
If you checked out the deeper dive yesterday or live before lock, you know that we have a huge giveaway happening at awesemo.com. And it's in honor of the debut of our season-long fantasy football projections. Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, have been working very hard on that and our rankings. And really all of our NFL season-long content, which is all entirely free on the site that you can check out. All that from the #1 DFS player in the world. It's our biggest giveaway ever. And you can win 1 month of Awesemo Plus by retweeting, liking, and replying to the tweet that you'll see pinned at the Awesemo_com handle. Very simple. So reply with the player that stands out most to you in Awesemo's NFL season-long rankings and projections. Now, I'm telling you, you will see some and you'll be like, oh, shit, I didn't expect to see that. Right?
Yeah.
But,
I looked at him yesterday.
Right. But what I love about it is it's not par for the course. It's not your run-of-the-mill, I should say, type of projections where it's like, everyone has the same projections, and you're wondering, well, why is this guy where he is? Is it just because, we're projecting from what we saw last year and we're not really taking this or that into account? Well, Alex took a lot of stuff into account that I don't think is taken into account just based on these projections. And look, some of them I see it, And I scratch my head, but that's what makes it so great. I think, though, I think in general, you're getting, I think these are really solid. And the reason for it being you're taking into consideration, well, you know what? How about this? Check them out for yourself and retweet, like, and reply with the player that stands out the most to you in the projections and rankings. And we could talk about it on Twitter as well. But they're really cool. And a lot of them, the biggest one for me is DeAndre Hopkins. When I saw where he was ranked, I was like, are you kidding me? But we'll see. I hope I'm right, but maybe not. Retweet it, like, and reply to the tweet. And you got to follow Awesemo_com and Awesemo NFL. So it's very simple. Just get your tweet and reply, and you're like in by before August 19th at 11:59 Eastern. So we'll pick 10 random winners on August 20th at 12 p.m. Eastern at noon. 10 random winners. So if you're a current if you're a current Awesemo Plus member, you can win a 30-minute coaching session with Awesemo, with Alex Baker, by taking part in the giveaway. We got over $500 in value of prizes. So even if you're a subscriber, go ahead and do that and get yourself the chance to win a free 30-minute coaching session. All right, Jake, 3 to go. You ready?
Let's do it.
San Francisco, Arizona, Alex Young, Derek Rodriguez. You weren't lying, man. It just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, so we've got Derek Rodriguez here at 4,800, and he could, plausibly go. I suppose he could go 75, 80 pitches. So I'm just saying it right now. I'm sure I'm going to get to some of this guy. He's garbage, but hopefully this roof is closed. I think it's going to be in Arizona, and you just need him to survive for that price. He's, for a bad pitching slate, we usually have a couple guys down here that are, priced at 5K, where we could just take some risks on and spread out our exposure to get a punt pitcher and hope one of them does well. We've really only got Rodriguez and Waka, and then everyone else is in this mid-tier. So it is really ugly down here, but I'm probably going to play some Derek Rodriguez. I'm also probably going to play a lot of Eduardo Escobar, and David Peralta's price is crazy here. 4K. Lamb at 3,800 too, so there's definitely value to be had on both sides. Alex Young for 8,100, not someone I'm giving a hard look at really. I think he's probably going to be okay, but 8,100 here against the Giants, against a bunch of righties, is difficult for me to get to when I can just find that extra $1,000 and get up to Sonny Gray.
You know what I think about sometimes? You just did it now. I'm guilty of it like every show. So we sit here. I'm in my office. I'm assuming you are too. And we sit here and be like, yeah, this guy's garbage. And we're calling a pitcher that even if he's one of the worst in Major League Baseball, he's made it to the pinnacle of success at his sport, right? And here we are sitting in our chairs, scrolling through links on our computer, being like, yeah, he's trash.
Yeah,
he sucks. Worst pitcher. I mean, God, we are terrible people.
Right? I mean, it's all relative.
Imagine if they watched it and they're like, these guys are saying I'm garbage. They could throw 75 miles per hour.
Yeah, I'm sure Derek Rodriguez is probably getting paid pretty healthily, so he's got no time for some couple of jerks behind their computer screens calling him garbage.
Yeah,
he's made it to the top 1%.
One day, one of these guys is going to pop up in YouTube chat.
yeah,
it's going to happen, man. Jake Arrieta is going to show up.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I loved Arrieta too because I'm like a Cubs fan, and so a few years ago I was a huge Arrieta fan, and then he's
phenomenal.
To be bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's taking a turn for the worse for old Jake the Snake. Yeah. But yeah, I always think about that, like the way that we refer to some of these players.
So
like,
mean.
Like we're better than them.
Right. Just so matter of factly. Yeah,
too good. But yeah, Derek Rodriguez is garbage, and I think it's probably a spot where, you know what? In all seriousness, when I saw some of the price tags on a few of these Arizona bats, I thought it was at Oracle and not at Chase Field.
Yeah, it is kind of weird how cheap they are. And
usually they got a 5-3 total against Rodriguez.
Yeah, usually it's one way or the other. Like the pitcher's either priced up and then the hitters are priced down. But now we've got the opposing pitcher priced down, and the opposing team priced way down as well. It's really only Ketel Marte at 5,100. That's the only guy that's kind of pricey.
Right. What's your final assessment on Alex Young? I ask you because, and this may surprise some, but the implied run total for the Giants, even against Young, is the second lowest on this slate, tied with St. Louis against Sonny Gray, higher than only the White Sox against Andrew Heaney. The price, though, is not particularly cheap. He has about a 20% K rate, but he's a 145 favorite, and they have a 4.3 total.
Yeah, I think it's more an indictment, the 143 favorite for Young. I think that's more of an indictment on just how bad the Giants are.
Oh, sure. And
lefties.
Of course, how many runs Arizona's projected to score.
Right. Versus lefties, like 81 WRC plus. I think that's bottom 3 in the MLB right now. That might be the worst, actually, now that I'm looking at it. Average K rate for the Giants, below average K rate for Young, though. Like, we started talking about this last year when we first started doing shows together. I just don't know how Young kills me here. Like, how often is it that Alex Young is really going to be the pitcher you need?
For sure.
And he's in the same price range. Like, I would consider him in around the same price range as Sonny Gray. Gray's just such a better pitcher, and he's a similar favorite and got the exact same strikeout matchup, but he strikes guys out at an 8% higher clip.
All right. Any additional thoughts on bats, or should we move it on?
Not much interest in the Giants here. I think I'll pass on them.
All right. So 2 games to go. Oakland, Houston. Oh, I forgot to mention it, by the way. MLB Strategy is the sign-up code to get 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus for the ownership, projections, player projections, top stack tool, fantasy cruncher add-on. There's so much that you can check out over at awesemo.com. And if you want to check out the free content first, feel free. Ton of free content posted every day for all sports. But if you want to sign up and see what we've got going on for Awesemo Plus, just use MLB Strategy. It'll get you 50% off your first month. Oakland and Houston, Mike Fiers, Aaron Sanchez. Did they fix him already?
It kind of looks that way.
It's crazy.
I think they fixed him enough, or he's shown enough in these first couple starts for me to consider playing Sanchez at 7,700 here. Good park. Obviously, the run total against isn't ideal. Almost 5 runs here for Oakland. But Sanchez has shown he can strike guys out, at least with Houston, and also go deep enough. So I'd rather get to him than a guy like Alex Young. And then looking on the other side with Fiers, I'm trying to think of a price in which I would consider playing him here against Houston. Really, the park is the only thing he's got going for him here. It's not like Fiers strikes out a lot of guys. And then this Houston lineup is just the worst to try to target against. So I don't even know if I'd play him if he was like 65 or 5,500. Like, it's just such a bad spot for any pitcher, really.
Oh, it's brutal. All right, you ready for this?
Yes, sir.
How did I know this would be the case? So first of all, why don't other teams pick up on this? So check this out. He's made 2 starts with Houston. Both of them have been in August. So let's look at his August numbers. His sinker usage in March, well, we'll go from April, 47%. May, 31%. June, 31%. July, 41%. Would you like to take a guess as to what it's been in August?
I'm trying to think of his sinker's his bad pitch, right? That's
well, and Houston, right? And Houston, when Garrett Cole came over, when Charlie Morton came over, they basically had them all but scrap the pitch.
Right. So what is it, like 10%?
6.5%. What a surprise. Who would have thought that throwing more of your curveball, right? Who would have thought that throwing more of your curveball, which on the season is getting like 18% whiffs, would be a good idea. I mean, it's mind-boggling. It truly is. He's throwing his four-seamer 48% of the time.
Yeah, do teams just not like winning, or what's going on here? Like, this is something you could figure out too, just on Baseball Prospectus or something like that. So if I was a team, how's your analytics department, if you have one, not picking up on this or not trying to replicate what Houston's doing with these pitchers? They're just not having them throw their bad pitches. It's so I don't know. It's a good question why other teams are not picking up on this, but it appears they've at least fixed one thing with Sanchez, and that's good enough for me.
Yep, it's really crazy. So what are your thoughts on bats?
Well, no ownership going to Fires. It's not like it's a good pitcher's park. The weather here is, 75 degrees. You can always stack up Houston, but Brantley really sticks out as a great value. And then, I don't know. I just don't think I'm going to get to a lot of Houston when you've got Minnesota and the Yankees with over one implied run higher. But that's probably going to make Houston's ownership a little bit low. They would have to be super low owned for me to start moving exposure over to them, though.
Yeah, I think so too. So nothing really that stands out to you in a big way?
No, I don't think so. I'm going to take a look quick at Houston's team ownership here on the ownership projections.
Okay.
Yeah, they're still getting owned. Like Springer 16, Altuve 14, Bregman 13, Brantley 10. Like, it's not like they're just going completely overlooked. If they were, I would, start to think about them. But Minnesota is similarly owned. I think they have maybe 5 guys in double figures compared to 4 for Houston. So for me, that's easy. Give me some Minnesota. Give me some Yankees.
Agreed. All right. We've got one to go. Angels, White Sox. Heaney getting that huge ownership everywhere. Lowest total on the slate, as I mentioned before, is for the Chicago White Sox at 4 runs. Heaney's a pretty heavy favorite, 157, minus 157 at home. Are you buying into it, and is he your top guy, or is it still Darvish?
I think Gray, Darvish, Heaney, any way you put those 3 guys, you could probably make a case. Heaney's got a solid K rate, 27%. He allows a little bit more power than you would like to see out of a pitcher that's getting this kind of ownership. But I guess there's a few guys in this lineup you're worried about for Heaney that could possibly get him. Abreu, Tim Anderson's shown some power this season, Eloy, and then one of the catchers, depending on if they have Castillo and or McCann in the lineup. So not the easiest middle of the order that Heaney's going to face, but the strikeouts should certainly be there. And strikeouts are king in DFS, especially on a slate that really lacks pitching options. So, I understand getting to some White Sox bats, but I see myself getting more than the field on Heaney, and probably more on Gray, and likely more on Darvish, at least 2 out of the 3 of those guys. But I think Gray would be number 1, then Heaney a close second.
Okay. You think you get over the field on Heaney?
I think so. I do think so, actually, right now. But I probably won't have any pitcher over like 50%, 60%, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. On the other side, Ronaldo Lopez, I can't imagine you're enamored with him.
No, if he was cheaper, I would consider it, because there are some strikeouts at the bottom of this order, and the Angels just have been striking out more. Archer got him 10 times. He allowed a bunch of runs, but he struck out 10 in 5 innings yesterday.
I know, man. They are striking out more.
Yeah. And so it was really frustrating. I was playing the 2-game late slate and kind of fading Archer, and he just kept racking up strikeouts after he would give up a couple of runs. But you look at so let's see. Okay, that's versus lefties. Versus righties, this active roster for the Angels is at 21% Ks. Lopez, not a big strikeout arm. I don't know. I don't think you can get to him at 7,900. Is he like super cheap on Yahoo? Maybe you could make a case over there. 36.
I don't even know if I want to, honestly.
Sanchez is $30 on Yahoo, so no.
Yeah, dude. And you know what? I would assume that there is still a large group of people playing that are like, okay, this Sanchez stuff is nonsense. Mm-hmm. The funny thing is, it's not. I mean, maybe it doesn't mean he's going to go out there and kill it every start, but he's always had a good curveball. Like he's always had decent enough stuff. It's just, I'm telling you, if Kyle Gibson ever got traded to Houston,
All in.
he would win a Cy Young in 3 to 4 years. That's how much I believe in his stuff. But I don't know. Everyone should go to Houston.
Yeah, the slider for Gibson, just elite. But just can't figure out how to use his pitches effectively.
And apparently no one that is in that organization knows how to either.
Yeah. So
it's crazy, man. So what are your thoughts on these Angel hitters? I mean, we talk about Lopez, but is this an Angels team you like?
I mean, I like the usual parts. Mike Trout. Let's see it. Yeah, Ohtani's going to be in $19 on Yahoo. They're really cheap. This bottom of the order. No one past the 4 spot is $14 or more on Yahoo. So good implied total here. I think I'm going to get to them more as fillers. But yeah, no complaints against Reynaldo Lopez, especially Ohtani for 4,600.
All right. Well, before we head out of here, if you like the show, you want to see more, and you want to help support us on the channel and at awesemo.com, hit us with a thumbs up and like the video. Subscribe, hit the notification bell as well. Helps us a lot, and we greatly appreciate it. Jake, what do you got coming up today? Anything else you want to tell to the listeners before we're out of here?
Let's see. Cheat sheets will be out shortly after we're done with this. I'll have, of course, Yahoo, DraftKings, FanDuel, Fantasy Draft. Cheat sheets for every site for the main slate. Chris Spags and I on Live Before Lock. And no you tonight because
nope.
you'll be off for the next week or so. So congrats to you. Preemptive congrats.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. Enjoy your vacation, man.
Yeah. Should be fun. I guess that's it, huh?
That's all.
All right. Sounds good. Stick around. We got plenty. Well, not stick around right now, but throughout the day, plenty coming up on Awesemo YouTube stream. And, of course, at awesemo.com, check out all the content. Remember, MLB Strategy gets you 50% off your first month. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports running some monster NFL contests. Get your $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points now. And, of course, check out the Awesemo_com Twitter handle for the biggest giveaway we've ever done. We wish you good luck in that. And today, we'll catch you back here next time on The Strategy Show.